So a lot of people hate trigonometry and they just keep saying, oh, it's just something to do with SOHCAHTOA or SOHCAHTOA, however you want to pronounce it. But basically, the main thing is you understand how to spell it because it's a way of remembering the formula. It helps if you write it slightly differently. So if we look at these, if you write it instead, you write it as with the middle letter raised up, like this. If you write that's very messy, so I'm going to just write that again. So you write SOH and CAH and TOA. The reason why you do that is because these now form a formula triangle. The S basically means sine theta, where theta is an angle. The C is cos theta. The T is tan theta. And then you got the O is the opposite. Opposite means opposite the angle we're talking about. I'm going to draw a triangle in a moment to show you what I mean. A is the adjacent. Adjacent just is a posh way of saying next to. So adjacent means next to. Okay, so obviously the first letter it's in there. And then you've got H, which we used in Pythagoras, which is the hypotenuse. So the side that's opposite the right angle, and that's the longest side, hypotenuse. I'm bound to misspell this. Hang on. Yeah, hypotenuse. So those are what all the variables mean. Now let's actually draw a triangle around each one of these. All right. So there's our triangle. So basically, the top one would be for the divide, and these two would be multiplied. So what this is saying is that the top one is saying that sine theta is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, or by rearranging it, so if it's on a piece of paper, then you would put your thumb over it, but we can do the same over here. So hypotenuse would be equal to opposite over sine theta, or the opposite would be equal to sine theta times the hypotenuse, and so on. So this one is now going to be cos theta is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, and this is tan theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. So the next thing to ask is, what is this opposite? And we know what they stand for now, and we know a little bit more, but we still don't really know what it really means. So we're going to get a picture of a triangle now. Okay, so here's our triangle. This is the angle that we'd be talking about. Well, it could be any angle. The point is, whatever the angle is, the side opposite it is the opposite is O, and the hypotenuse is always going to be the same. So that's the hypotenuse is opposite the right angle. So that's our H, and the side that's next to the angle is the adjacent. So if instead of measuring this angle, I wanted to measure this angle, then the opposite would become the adjacent, and the adjacent would become the opposite. So the opposite side is always, as in O, is always the side that's opposite the angle we're looking at. Okay? So if we knew on this case, maybe that, let's say we just happen to know the hypotenuse is 5, let's pick a different color, 5 centimeters, and we happen to know that the angle is 30 degrees, then, well, how could we find out the opposite? Well, using this triangle here, I want to work out the opposite, so I cover up what I want to work out, and it's sine theta times the hypotenuse. So the opposite is equal to sine theta, or sine 30 in this case, times 5. Okay, So how do you use this? Well, on your calculator, you've got these three buttons, sine, cos, and tan. So if you do sine 30 on your calculator, do you want to have a go at that? So sine 30 times 5 is going to be 2.5. So basically, the opposite side would be 2.5 centimeters. Okay. We have to just the trick is just to know which formula to use and how to rearrange it. So the way to know that is you look at what's being given and what sides have been given, or what sides are you looking at. And we've got the hypotenuse and the opposite. So we've got H and O, and together O and H, they spell O. So I just think O, and I think, oh, O sounds like so I want this one. So I'm using sine. Okay. If it was like you knew the A and the H, and you go ah sounds like car, so I need to use cos. And if I knew O and A, that's OA. Also, I know to use tan. So that's why I use the SOCAD TOA to help you to remember which formula to use. Okay?